Let's go back to our breaking news story now. President Cyril Ramaphosa has agreed to testify at the state capture inquiry when and if required to do so. Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo made the announcement, saying Ramaphosa had also submitted his affidavit to the Commission. Let's find out more about this specific affidavit. ENCA's Michael Apple joins me now in studio, and he's been covering the inquiry for some time now. Now, Michael, the Deputy Chief Justice sat down very seriously, in very measured terms, very measured words, explained why he asked for this affidavit, where they're at right now, and what could or may happen next. What specifically did he ask for the President to address in this affidavit?
So the President quotes exactly what the inquiry chair wanted from him and his fellow cabinet members. So let's quote the President quoting the chairperson. He asked for I and fellow cabinet members to state whether or not we have had any meetings with any of the Gupta brothers or BOSASA and its subsidiaries. So that was the question from the chair, asking the President, did you meet these people? When did you meet them? Under what conditions? What was asked? What was discussed? I suppose it's up to the person to give as much detail as they can. And this is where he then responds in, let's call it 4 pages, to whether or not he met the Guptas and whether or not he met Angelo Agrizzi and Gavin Watson of BOSASA.
Or anybody connected to them.
Or anybody connected to them.
So I thought it would be a thicker document because I saw the brown envelope being handed over to the Reverend to hand over to the journalist, but then I realized those were just a whole lot of photocopies of said document, and like you've said, it's 6 pages, but actually it's 4 pages. What have you been able to glean from those 4 pages, because you haven't had much time to have a look at it?
So, I mean, thankfully for us on a Friday afternoon, it's only 6 pages long. So the President met the Gupta brothers. He can't tell you which ones because he's just simply not on a first-name basis with them, he claims. So he says on 3 or 4 occasions he met with the Guptas. Number 1 is the very well-known ANC elective conference in Mangaung in Bloemfontein in 2012. And that was at a media breakfast that was hosted by the SABC, so there would have been a whole bunch of ANC officials there discussing the new policy going forward. He was there. He met one of the Gupta brothers there. He can't tell you which one. Second meeting is 2014 national elections. The ANC is victorious. There is a similar function, another media engagement. He is there. One of the Gupta brothers is there. They exchange, I'll quote, "It was never more than basic greetings, pleasantries, and common courtesies." So, hi, how are you? It's really hot. It's really cold. Nice to see you.
How about the Springboks?
How about the Springboks? He says the only meeting where there was some substance that was discussed was in April 2016. A meeting is called at, I'm guessing, the ANC's headquarters in Luthuli House. The Gupta brother is there. He believes it's Tony Gupta is there. A letter is written by Nazim Hawa, who is the former CEO of Oak Bay, saying, can the ANC intervene? Oak Bay's accounts and ANN7, the New Age, and all their subsidiaries' bank accounts are being closed down. Can the ANC somehow intervene? And you'll remember that cabinet statement. We call it a cabinet statement, but cabinet rebuked Mosebenzi Zwane for releasing a statement basically on his own.
Remember that, yeah.
So at that meeting, they discuss the bank accounts and they discuss the relationship that the then President has with the family. And it is there where the President says he brought up the issue of the Gupta family landing their jet at Waterkloof Air Force Base, and he is told by Tony Gupta, but we had the permission of the Indian High Commissioner. Subsequently, we'll hear from Bruce Kolwane and others who testified that they certainly did not. He says he makes it clear to Mr. Gupta that his relationship and that incident placed the then President in an invidious position. That is then the Guptas handled. So I've met them 3 or 4 times. This is what we discussed. It was never anything more than pleasantries.
Except that one time with a substantial conversation
where we discussed the bank accounts. Second is the BOSASA issue. Angelo Agrizzi, I have never met him. If I have no recollections of it. Gavin Watson, he writes here, I have been informed that Mr. Gavin Watson attended my son's wedding in August 2018 in Uganda. I'm told he was there, but once again, he has no recollections of that. He goes into some depths about how the CR Foundation, the Cyril Ramaphosa Foundation, is a non-for-profit organization, and that through a number of subsidiary links of BOSASA, that they may have been at the same places at the same times because they were, donating to the same back-to-school or adopt-a-school program, but it was never anything to write home about.
So I suppose quite a bit of emphasis will be on the BOSASA part because of the cloud that's hanging over the president with regards to funding that he may or may not have received or has received for his ANC election campaign. But the meeting that he speaks about where he actually spoke to one of the Gupta brothers then pertains to what the Deputy Chief Justice said is the main questions that he believes the Commission needs to ask and that he believes many South Africans will be asking, that when or if those in leadership in government and in the ruling party realized that state capture was an issue or was indeed taking place, what did they do about it?
Yeah.
Do we then assume that that conversation that the president speaks about in his affidavit now speaks to that question that, hey, I did actually say something and this is when I said it?
It seems that there is a sense of impatience is setting in. South Africans are becoming impatient with hearing about state capture, fraud, corruption on a daily basis, but not understanding what was going on behind the scenes. What were those in positions of power? What levers were they pulling or not pulling to be able to facilitate this or to try and stamp it out? So those in Luthuli House, those in the corridors of power, in Parliament, those sitting at various meetings, what was being said, what was being done, what was not being done to create this environment in which state capture could flourish. So the inquiry chair always wants everybody to have an opportunity to come across and give their side of the story. It's important to note here that Cyril Ramaphosa becomes the first very senior member of cabinet to place his version on paper.
Because during that time he would have been deputy president.
He was deputy president. So he has placed it on paper. It is in black and white. It's been given and it's been said, make it public. The commission has sat on this since the 2nd of July. So they've had it for 24 days, where then at the request of the president said, please make it public. Analysts will allow them to analyze, but factually, what this does is it places other cabinet members, because he says here, I want you and other cabinet members to come and tell me. Those who are currently sitting in cabinet, we've heard from the likes of Barbara Hogan, Themba Maseko, other members of cabinet at the time. But they currently don't have skin in the game, do they? So the president is going up front. He's saying, there is my version. And perhaps in doing so, trying to encourage his cabinet colleagues to do the same. The ball is indeed in their court. Thank you so much. Michael Apple will continue.